Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's Benedict here again from Jogging and Company Associates. And today I want to show you the simplest way of coming up with a P&L statement and balance sheet without any Dax coding. So first what we'll do, we'll start with P&L and later we'll move to balance sheet. So here we'll start with we'll start from the trial balance. On my screen you can see we have a trial balance. So this is just an imaginary trial balance. This is what we want to use to come up with a P&L. And later we'll also come up with a balance sheet. But there will be no Dax coding, and then our P&L will be in such a way that it is detailed. So we want our layer to be in this format. We'll start from revenue to earnings after tax, and then we'll also have this calculated rows that we cannot do using that is not always easy to do when we are generating reports within Power BI, but you can do the calculated rows when you are using a Dax. But today I want us to do it in a simple way. There's no Dax coding, and we only have to reorganize our trial balance and then come up with a table for P&L, and then we'll load that table to Power BI. So we'll start from trial balance. This is a fictive, or rather, this is an imaginary trial balance. You can see. So from the trial balance, we have a debit side, and we also have a credit side. We have revenue items, and we also have we have P&L items, and we also have balance sheet items. So from trial balance, I will move to this expanded table. So here we are separating the balance sheet items from the P&L items. So here we have balance sheet items. You can see we have capital, we have creditors, we have assets, we have current assets and non-current assets. So these are balance sheet items. So what we need to do when we are expanding this trial balance, we only need to separate the P&L items from balance sheet items. And then also we have the ledger items. So we need to create a column that gives us the items that we need to appear within our balance sheet and also within our profit and loss statement. So when you check on this column where I have date and values of the P&L and balance sheet items, you can see we have some negative values and others are positive values. So we'll explain why others are negative and others are positive as we move forward. So here we have a column of date and numerical values. We also have a column for branch. We have a column for subledger. So this won't be necessary when we are coming up with our income statement within Power BI and also the balance sheet within Power BI. So this one can as well hide for now because we don't need it. And then we also have ledger items. So these are the items that will appear within P&L and balance sheet. So I want us to start with the P&L items. So here we have, let me just select P&L items. So within P&L items, we'll have revenue, we'll have revenue, we'll have expenses, we'll have cost of sales. Okay. So what we are supposed to do here after creating our P&L, rather within the TB, we've separated the P&L from balance sheet items. So we need to align, we need to come up with columns that will align with this P&L layout. So from here we have revenue, we have total revenue. We can also have net revenue instead of total revenue, because when you have some discounts within your revenue items, will come up with the net revenue. We also have cost of sales, and then we also have total cost of sales. So cost of sales, we have quite a number of large items within cost of sales. So when we sum up the large items, we have cost of sales. And then we also have gross margin. We have net income, we have operating expenses, and then we also have total operating expenses. So this side you can see I have revenue is I've named it A, and then we have total revenue, which is a summation. So total revenue will be a summation of the categories of revenue, and then we also have cost of sales. And cost of sales here I've used here minus sign to mean that the values of cost of sales should be negative. And then total cost of sales is also a summation of total revenue and total cost of sales. And then when you go to gross margin, gross margin will be a summation of total revenue and total cost of sales. So we also have here the income is positive. So these are positive values within our expanded trial balance. And then we also have operating expenses, which is also a negative value. We have total operating expenses, and the total operating expenses is just a summation of the operating expenses, because within operating expenses we have quite a number of categories of operating expenses. So the total operating expenses is just a summation of the categories. And then we also have earnings before depreciation, interest, and tax. And this one is a summation of gross revenue. Let me just try to highlight. It will be a summation of gross revenue, other income, and the total operating expenses. So when we come to depreciation, we have a negative sign here, meaning these are negative values within our expanded trial balance. And then we have earnings earnings before interest and tax. So after netting off the depreciation from earnings before depreciation, interest, and tax, we'll have earnings after tax. So this is also a summation of earnings before depreciation, interest, and tax with the depreciation and amortization. So when you add these two, you will get earnings before interest and tax. And then we also have interest. Interest is also negative value. It means that it will be a negative value within our expanded TB. And then also within P&L table, it will be negative because we have to net it off from earnings before interest and tax. So after that, we'll have earnings before tax, which is also a summation of earnings before interest and tax with the interest. And then we have tax element, which is also a negative value. And then thereafter we have our final figure, which is earnings after tax. So these items we need to all these items here, we need to put them within our expanded TB. And then I'll show you how we need to move on. So from here, let me just take you back to our expanded TB. So here we'll start one by one from right to left, from my right hand side to left. So from P&L layout, we started with revenue. So when we go to expanded TB, we have here the first column here is for revenue. So within revenue, we'll just sort out when you go to this column for date and values, we need to sort out all the ledger items for revenue, and these ledger items for revenue are this category of items. We have express sales, we have freight sales, and we also have lunch service sales. So these values have to be positive, because we'll net off all other values from these values to come up with our earnings after tax. So the revenue figures must be positive. And then the next column will be total revenue. So total revenue is just a summation of the revenue items. So when we come down here and write total revenue, it means that we must pick all the revenue items. So total revenue and total revenue column and revenue column. The total revenue column and the revenue column should be in the same level. So what I mean here, this column here for revenue and this column for total revenue only should be having the ledger items similar, rather they should have similar ledger items. So our next column will be this one here, and this column should be cost of sales. So when you come to P&L layout, you can see the next item here, the index 3 here is cost of sales, and then here we also have cost of sales. So from cost of sales, we only need to filter out items that are forming cost of sales. So the ledger items that form cost of sales is what we have here. This express cost. We also have just a moment. We also have freight cost. We have lunch service cost. So these are the cost of sales ledger items, and then from there now we need to move to total cost of sales, which is a summation of cost of sales ledger items. So when we come back here, we just pick these ledger items that we took for cost of sales. So in this column, you just write total cost of sales. So the key here is it's just a matter of writing a text. We are picking this text, rather these ledger items here, as text values. Then we'll use them in this column for this expanded TB. So the next item after total cost of sales, we have gross margin. And then when we come to gross margin, you see now we have gross margin. We'll have all the revenue items, and then we'll also have all the cost of sale items, the ledger items. So the gross revenue column will encompass all the revenue items and all the cost of sales items, like I've made it here. So when you move to the next index, or rather the next P&L item is other income. So you'll come again here, and the next item, rather the next ledger item here will be, not ledger item, but the main layout item will be other income. So from other income again, we'll come and use only other income from the ledger items. So when you check on this column, we only have other income as the ledger items. So the next index will be operating expense, and that one is also here. So here we'll just pick only operating expenses in this column. So when I choose operating expenses as a column here, you can see what we have as ledger items are just the ledger items for operating expenses, of which we have administration, employee expenses, marketing, we have professional fees, we have transport and travel. And again, the total operating expenses will also pick the same ledger items for operating expenses. So the next column here for operating expenses will just pick the exact ledger items for operating expenses. And when we go back to the layout after total operating expenses, we have earnings before depreciation, interest, and tax. So here, let me just scroll to my left. When we come to this column here, we'll pick all the ledger items. We'll be picking all the ledger items that will pick, rather will form the earnings before depreciation and tax. So when I highlight on these columns, you can see what we have from here. All the ledger items that were forming these columns will form part of the earnings after tax. So here in this column, we'll just write earnings before depreciation and tax for all the ledger items that form part of these other columns for total operating expense, operating expenses, other income, gross margin, total cost of sales, total revenue, and revenue. And from here now we need to move to depreciation. So depreciation is index 10. So here depreciation, we only need to pick the depreciation ledger item, but within our trial balance we don't have any depreciation and amortization ledger item. So the next P&L item will be earnings before interest and tax. So earnings before interest and tax, I will pick all the ledger items that form part of earnings before interest and tax. So all the ledger items that are from revenue to cost of sales to operating expenses that we need to net off from revenue will form part of our earnings before interest and tax. And from there now we'll move to interest, and when check on our layout we have the interest element as a P&L item is index 12. So here we'll have a column for interest. Unfortunately, within our trial balance, we do not have the interest element. So this whatever is just blank. So supposing we had a ledger item here for interest, we'll just filter out that ledger item for interest, and that's what we'll choose as the part of interest as a ledger item within our P&L layout. Then now we'll move to this column for earnings before interest and tax, and again in this column we'll just pick all the ledger items that we will use, or rather will categorize, so that we can reach this index for earnings before interest and tax. It then means that all these columns from interest to up to revenue will form part of earnings before interest and tax. So all the ledger items that form part of these columns should form part of the earnings before interest and tax. So when we move across, so you see all these ledger items from revenue to operating expenses, cost of sales, to interest if we had, and the depreciation amortization if we had, should form part of earnings before tax. And then now we have a tax element, and this is the tax column. And when we go to P&L layout, we also have a tax item, which is index 14. So here also we must have a tax element. And within the tax element, what we need to have is just the ledger item for tax. So when I filter out tax, you can see we only have this column or this row for tax element. So then lastly, now we'll move to earnings after tax, which is our final figure that we are supposed to get within our P&L. So when you check down here, we have when you check on this P&L layout, we have the last item here is earnings after tax. So this will form our last column within our expanded P&L TB as the last column for these items that forms the P&L layout. So here we only have, or rather here we'll have all the P&L items. All P&L items, rather P&L ledger items here will fall under the earnings after tax. Because we'll start from revenue, we'll start from revenue, we'll go to total revenue, cost of sales, then we'll move all the way to earnings after tax. So from here, let me take you back to, rather let me move to the right hand side. So after creating this, expanding this step, this TB in this format, now we need to filter out all the P&L items. For this TB, we have balance sheet items, and we also have P&L. So we'll filter out P&L items, and we'll also come up with another table for just P&L. So we only have P&L items in this table. So these items are exactly from the expanded TB, but what we don't have now here is just the balance sheet items, but all remains as we did in this expanded TB. So in this P&L table that I call table 3, or rather the table here is the TB18. So on my right hand side, we have this column for a date and values, and then we have negative values and as well positive values. So the negative values here that are just the items, the P&L items that we need to deduct from revenue, and then the positive values are just the revenue items and other income. So when I click on this other income and click on loan service sales, and then I click on freight sales, and then I also select this express sales, you can see all these values are positive, and the rest of the ledger items will be negative because we'll deduct them from revenue to get our earnings after tax. So from here, what we need to do next, we need to unpivot this column. So to unpivot this column, we'll just click on this table anywhere, then we'll click on data, then again we'll click on this command from table stock range. So this will take us to Power Query Editor. Then from Power Query Editor, we need to we need to pivot this column for date and values. So my PC is a bit slow. Let's wait. So now we are it's taking long. So from here, what we need to do will unpivot the column for date and values. So we'll come into this column, select this column, then go to this tab for transform, then we'll click on pivot. So to make it short, after okay, it's done. So after unpivoting, what we need to have here is a date, and we also need to have values. So we'll change here to date. And we also need to change the data type to date. And then here we'll this one is okay, but you can change the data type to a whole number, so to do away with the decimal places. Then after doing this, now I need to go to home tab, then close and load. So this one will be loaded back to Excel workbook. Okay. So within our Excel workbook, after pivoting that column for date and values, we'll have two other columns now for separated. Rather, now we have a column for date and we also have a column for value. But this is now the table that we have for P&L that we need to load into Power BI. So this table here is the one here I'm calling unpivoted P&L table. It is exactly the same table like this one. I'm just trying to show you the way forward. So I'll do away with this TB. So this is the table exactly as we've done within Power Query Editor. So when we load this table into Power BI, we'll also unpivot these other columns for P&L layout items from earnings after tax to revenue. So this is the table that we have now that we want to use within Power BI to generate the income statement. So let me just take you to, or rather before I take you to Power BI, so we have now three tables that we need to load to Power BI. We have this unpivoted P&L table, and we also have date table, and we also have P&L layout. So let me take you to or rather Power BI, so that we can see the tables that we need to load and see how we can now go about generating the P&L income statement within Power BI. So I will come here to Power BI. We'll go to get data, and then we are using Excel workbook. Then it is the trial balance, so I'll pick a trial balance, then open. Then just a moment. Then from trial balance, we'll pick P&L table. We'll also pick a date table, and then we'll pick P&L layout. So these tables are down here. We have P&L layout. So we are picking this table here, the P&L layout. Then we are also picking this pivoted table. So this one is P&L TB, and then we also pick the date table. So we've named it here date. These are the tables that we're taking to Power BI. So picking these three tables, I will not load, I will go to transform because I need to unpivot some columns within P&L TB. So I will click this command for transform data. So that will take me again to Power Query Editor, but now within Power BI. My PC is a bit slow, but it will work out. Just a moment. Yes, now from here, what we need to pivot are the columns within our P&L table from money after tax to revenue. So from here, what we need to do, we'll select this column for these columns for earnings after tax to revenue column. Then so we'll go to transform, then unpivot. So now you can see we have two columns, but they're similar. So we just want to use one column. So I can remove one column here for this attribute. I'll remove this column. Then I'll name this one here as a main. P&L terms. Then again, I need to change the data type here to text, because we just have text values. Okay. Then from here now we need to load this query into the front end. We need to load the query into front end of Power BI. So I will go to Home tab, then click Close and Apply. So now we'll be loading all the three queries, including the unpivoted P&L TB. Just wait a moment. Maybe it's because of the done. That's the number running within the RAM, so it's a bit slow. Then from here now we can go to data modeling. I'll let it finish. We have to see the tables within our fields bin. So now we have the table P&L layout and P&L TB. So we'll come here to this model view and model tables. Okay. Has been related field to the top, so I'll click on this one. I'll make this one yes, and this one yes as well. So here we need to model create a relationship between our tables. So P&L TB is the fact table, and these are the table for P&L layout and date are data dimension tables. So I will connect date from the date table with date from P&L TB. So the relationship here is one to many from data dimension tables to the fact table. So again, I'll pick P&L items, connect with main P&L items. So our tables have been connected. So we now need to create a report. So here now we can build a P&L from the tables given that we've modeled. So I will click on this matrix icon. Then let me try to expand it a bit. I will come here to this P&L layout. I'll pick P&L items, drop under rows. Then I will go to P&L TB and I will pick ledger items and drop under rows. Again, I pick value, field and drop under values. And then let me pick again date. I want periodical P&L. So I'll pick a month M and drop under columns. Then from here now we need to rearrange our P&L. So I will come to P&L layout. Let me first go to data view, and I'll choose P&L layout. Then I will sort the P&L items by index. So the values were not inserted into the values field. So let me go back to values field and drop under values. So now we have values. Again, I can also go to date table. Let me go to date table, and I want to sort the date. But let me click first the data view. I want to sort the date to be in order from January to January as we move. So we'll sort this name column. I'll sort by month number, by month, sort by this column here. Then from here now we can expand our trial balance. I will start with revenue. I need to expand. I want to see the revenue ledger items. And I will also expand on cost of sales. I will also expand on operating expenses. I will expand on those three. And those are the values that we want to see are indented. Okay. Then from here now let me do a little bit of formatting. So I will come to this format button. Then I'll go to grid. I want to expand the padding to 3. I'll go to title. To make the title on. So this is income statement. Statement. Let me call it a monthly income statement. Then we'll left center. Then we can also choose the background color to be this color. Then we can also do radius of the border with the radius of 20 px, and can also change the color to a different color. Then from here now we'll go to the subtotals, because what we want to see here is revenue going down up to earnings after tax. So the values that are not necessary within P&L items, we'll hide them off. So what I will do, I will come to this format pin, rather format button, then I will go to row, rather subtotals, then I will click this row subtotals off, and then again I will go to row headers, then I will come down, I will try to increase the step layout and indentation, and again I'll scroll down and put off the plus stroke minus icons. So let me again try to format this page just to widen it a bit. So let me use 4:3. So now we have our P&L item in terms of rather we have our monthly P&L item, and the monthly P&L income statement. So now you can see we have January, we also have February, and can also do a branch income statement. Let me just try to do another one for branch. So I will come here again and click on this matrix. I will again go to P&L layout, drag P&L items under rows. Then I will also drag ledger items under rows. Then I will drag values, a value. Then I will use branch under column. Then let me try to expand it again. Then I will expand this field for revenue. Will also expand cost of sales. I will expand operating expenses. Then I will also add the title. So instead I will copy the formatting for the first table here, the first visual, and paint the next visual. Okay, so now we have a branch income statement, and we also have a monthly income statement. But let me just try to do a title on this branch income statement. So again, I'll click on this format button, then to title. So this one I will write branch income statement. Okay. Again, from here now within this branch income statement, I want to do away with the with the field that we don't need, like the totals for revenue we don't need. We also don't need the totals for cost of sales, because we have down here total cost of sales, which is the same value like the cost of sales. So I'll do away with the row subtotals. So I will go to subtotal and click off row subtotals. So now we have our branch income statement, but before then let me just go to data view, use value, and to use a comma within my values. So these are just a few cosmetic changes, but the major thing that we needed to do to make income statement is already done. So this is our monthly income statement and also branch income statement. But now let's see if you were to do maybe from January to February, March. But apparently you have January and March, so I did not when I started I did not do away with the February. So let's assume that we've only just done for January. Now we also want to update for February. So let me just go back to Excel workbook. So this was our unpivoted table, and we have it up to, so this should be January. Let me see. Let me just save. I think I did not save to update the values that appears in our Power BI. So let me again refresh. So you're supposed just to have the values for January, not February. So let me try to refresh and see what we have. Yes, this is the value that we have in our Excel workbook. So these are the values that we are supposed to have within our Power BI as income statement. So going back to unpivoted TB, so let's assume that we want to do the values for continuously, for rather periodically. So we've done for February. Now we want to do for we've done for January. Now we want to do for March. So what I'll do here, I want to copy the values for January and just change the date, so we see what happens. So I will just come up here and pick from but make sure when you are selecting these items you start from the first column to the first column to the on your left to the last column on your right, or just make sure just to pick all the right all the necessary data within your table. So I'll pick from here and I'll go down to this row 477. So I want to copy all these values and put down here. So it will start from 78. So let me paste this one here. Insert copied cells. Then from here first I want to change these values to, I want to change the date to February 28th. So all this will be February. So now we have February. So now we are assuming that we've followed all the processes of coming from trial balance to expanded TB, then creating another a P&L table. Then now we've unpivoted this column for data and values, and now we want to put it in this unpivoted table for P&L. So here we are doing for February as the next period. So what I will do here, I will delete this column first, this row. Then I will expand this table up to, I will expand this table to the values of February. Then after save. Then after saving, now I will go to Power BI and refresh. See that to see if the values will reflect within our Power BI. So now you're supposed to see the double figures of January and February. So now you can see now we have January, February, and then we also have in a branch income statement the increased values encompassing January and February. But what if you are also to do March? So now we are assuming we are doing January periodically from January, February, March. So now let's assume we want to do March again. Let me just try to copy these values. We see what will happen when we want the values for March. So we are assuming now that we've all the process of expanding TB, then coming up with unpivoted table. So again, I will change this one to March. I want to change this one to 31st of March. So again, I will delete this row, and then I will expand this table to encompass. Just a moment, let me first change this date to March. Then again, I will expand this table. Undo. We'll expand this table to encompass the values of March as a period. Then I will save again. Then let me try to refresh our table again. Refresh the Power BI to see if what we've done within Excel workbook will reflect within Power BI to encompass the values for January, February, and March. So now this is what we have. We have January, February, and March. And when I scroll on the left, let me just try to duplicate this page. So we have one page for branch and one page for monthly income statement. So here I will do away with the monthly income statement. So now I can expand this one here. So this is our branch income statement, and when I come to this other side, I can do away with the branch income statement, and then now we can expand on monthly income statement. So this is now our monthly income statement, and we also have a branch income statement. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope you understood the simplest way of coming up with the income statement from Excel workbook without doing any Dax coding. So in our next video, we'll do a balance sheet from the same Excel workbook, and we'll see how to come up with the balance sheet without any Dax coding within Power BI. So just a recap of where we started. We started with the trial balance. This was just imaginary trial balance. Then we went to expanded TB. So we created all these columns from our expanded TB. These columns are matching with the P&L layout, like what we have here. And then from here within expanded TB, we'll extract, we'll create another P&L table that is the same with what we just created here. So we'll just sort out the P&L items from balance sheet items. So this is the table that we have for P&L items. Then on this, towards the end here, what we need to do is to put negative values for values that we need to, for the ledger items that we need to subtract from revenue. And then the revenue items and other income, we need to make them positive. Then now we'll unpivot this column to have separate columns for date and for values in this format. So after unpivoting, we'll have a format like this one where we have dates and we have values, plus these are the main revenue items arranged as per this layout. Then from here we need to use this in Power BI, where we will also unpivot these other columns. These are the main items for P&L layout. We'll unpivot within Power BI, and then we'll load it to the front end of Power BI. So that's how to come up with the income statement without coding. And I think this is much simpler than using Dax coding to come up with an income statement. So thanks a lot for watching, and if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, and also hit the notification button for future videos. So let's stop at there, and we'll meet again on the next video when we'll be doing the balance sheet without any Dax coding.